My name is Mathieu Leclerc. I'm 39. I work as a surveying engineer in Lyon, and for the last 15 years, I've been trying to live like Auguste du Villeneuve never happened. Officially, it was ruled a hiking accident in the mountains. The investigation wrapped up in a week. They never found my dad's body. I've told myself 1,000 times it was just a slip, that I was a scared kid in shock, and my mind filled in the rest. But I was right there. I saw it. No matter how many times I tried to convince myself, it couldn't have been real. I know it was. I've accepted it. And I carry it every damn day. Back then I was 14. The 6 of us headed out on a hike through the wildest part of the French Alps, the Écrins Massif, way off the regular trails. My dad, Jean-Luc Leclerc, 48 years old, and his 3 closest buddies from work, Marc, Philippe, and Antoine. Those guys had been mapping mountains, building roads, and setting up cable car towers together for over 20 years. Dad always brought me along. He'd say, "A man's got to know his mountains from the inside, kid." Day 4. We were beat, but in a good mood. We pitched camp on a wide, rocky ledge Dad had known for 15 years. Perfect spot, insane view, right on the edge of a sheer drop into a deep gorge. Below us was nothing but thick, motionless fog that never seemed to rise above a certain line. The locals in the last village before the trail had given us one blunt warning. Only don't look down into the gorge after dark. If you look, it looks back. We laughed it off. Dad just shook his head and said, "Old-timers always say stuff like that to scare tourists." That evening around the fire is burned into my memory. Dad sat right next to me, heavy arm around my shoulders. He told the story of pulling me out from under a rock slide when I was 3, carried me almost 2 kilometers until the chopper showed up. He talked about how last year the 2 of us set up the tent in 11 minutes flat, and how proud he was. "You're my most important project, Mathieu," he said, slapping me on the back. Marc was cracking jokes the whole time. Philippe just smiled and fed the fire. Antoine spun his endless tall tales. I leaned against Dad, smelling smoke and pine, and thought, as long as we're all together, nothing bad can happen. Deep in the night, something woke me. Not wind, not rocks. A slow, wet, heavy sound, like something big and damp dragging itself far down below. Dad was already standing at the very edge of the ledge, staring into the darkness. Marc had woken up too. "Jean-Luc, you okay, man?" Marc asked quietly. Dad didn't turn around right away. His voice sounded off, rough. "It's here, I can feel it, it's coming up." We all moved closer. The air had turned freezing. The fog in the gorge started to shift, slow, unnatural, like it was alive. And then it came. I still can't talk about this without feeling sick. I know how insane it sounds. But I was standing 2 steps away, and I saw it with my own eyes. Something exploded out of the fog. Long, segmented, made of thousands of human bodies twisted inside out. Instead of skin, it had endless rows of tiny, moving eyes and mouths opening and closing on their own. The thing moved wrong, like reality itself was tearing around it. A long, jointed limb shot upward with impossible speed and wrapped around Dad's waist. I heard the bones snap, ribs and spine cracking loud and clear, like dry branches under a boot. Dad's eyes flew wide with shock and raw pain. "Dad!" I screamed and lunged forward. Marc grabbed Dad's arm. Philippe and Antoine scrambled for the rope. But the thing dragged him down slowly, deliberately. like it wanted us to watch every second. Dad's body slammed against the rocks. His head cracked against stone with heavy, wet thuds. Blood sprayed hot across my face. He looked straight at me the whole time. "Mathieu," he rasped while it pulled him along the rocks. His voice shook. "Run, son. Don't look." His words cut off in a horrible, wet, chewing sound as one of the mouths on the creature opened wide and sank into his chest. Dad let out a final scream. Not just pain, but the scream of a father who knew he was being taken forever. I watched the life leave his eyes right in front of me. Then it yanked him into the fog. I could still hear his body being dragged and broken somewhere far below, and then nothing but silence. The fog closed up like nothing had happened. At dawn, the rescue chopper came. They found only blood on the rocks and one of Dad's sneakers wedged in a crack. Official report: fell into the gorge. Mark died 3 months later from blood poisoning. Philippe and Antoine, they were never the same again. And I grew up. I still go back to those mountains sometimes. I stand on that same ledge. The fog is always there. And sometimes, deep in the night, I hear that sound again. Slow, heavy, wet breathing rises from the gorge. I know how crazy it sounds. I've told myself 1,000 times it couldn't have been real. But I was there. I saw it take my dad. And it's still waiting for me. Just don't look down.